Hello YouTube. The nature of this video is going to be kind of a public service announcement, like a for your information video. One of the main problems that people are having with these motorized bikes, especially the kind that have the 6-hole hub, like with the Phatmoto that holds the sprocket brake disc on, or like on the Sikk Ped, it just holds the sprocket, but it's a 6-hole disc hub. And the problem that these things have is those bolts will come loose. And if you don't catch it and you keep riding, you have a catastrophic failure, because the bolt shear, and then it rips the other bolts. It ruins the hub. That can be fixed. You can drill it out and retap it, or drill it out and put a bolt and nut through there. But you can do something to mitigate it, to stop it. This is a 2019, so this is a little different. I've changed this around. This originally had the V brakes. It's the first model, and I added my own disc brake setup. But those 6 bolts, let's see them in there? There's one right there, see it? One right there. Anyway, on a brand new bike, before you even ride it, the bike comes out of the box with the rear wheel on it. You need to take that rear wheel off. Take those bolts out. And it's advisable to replace them with a quality, metric quality, or a grade 8 quality. They're an M5 bolt. But if you don't replace them, at least take them out and put blue thread locker on them and re-torque them. And then reinstall your rear wheel. And if you let that thread locker sit like 12, 24 hours, it works. You can't put it on and then go ride the bike, because it's not cured. But anyway, you've got to do that. They will come loose, and it will be a catastrophic failure. You'll ruin your rear wheel. You'll ruin the hub. You can ruin the sprocket, the rotor. It's not good. You don't want it to happen, and it must be done. It's not a thing that's just Phatmoto. It's any motorized bike with a 6-hole hub. Those bolts can come loose. When it's new, everything kind of settles in and things work loose. But you need to do that before you even ride the bike. And now on the Phatmoto, there's 3 critical areas. There's those sprocket bolts, and then on the pedal crank, these bolts sometimes come loose, and they'll break, shear off. Check them for tightness, and if they can keep checking them. If they continually come loose, put blue thread locker on there. Now, if you guys have had pedals come loose, I don't know how that happens. That should never happen. But these bolts come loose. These will come loose back here on your sprocket, on that disc hub. And then on the jack shaft. Now, this is a 2019, and I've redone this jack shaft. This is not stock. Stock uses a 35 tooth. The 2020s, 2021, 22s use a spline sprocket and a spline jack shaft. And the problem is they use a bolt to hold the sprocket on. Well, sometimes the shaft is recessed into the sprocket hole, 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch, which is not good. So the guys, you torque the bolt down, and all it does is compress that washer in that hole, and it doesn't really hold it. And they keep torquing and they shear the bolt off. Well, don't do that. If you've got a gap in there, fill that gap with washers. And then tighten your bolt, and your big washer will hold the sprocket on without doing damage to the race. Okay. Oh, and another thing. The clutches. Now, what I do is I use this flexible spout oiler, which allows me to get right back in behind here and put 2 to 3 drops of oil on that oil light clutch bushing. Simple and easy. Takes me 3 minutes to pull that cover off, oil that bushing, and keep on riding. If you don't oil that bushing, your clutch won't work right. It'll start to grab, it'll chatter, you won't have a good ride, it'll stall the engine. That bushing has to be oiled. Let me see if I got a hyou'll clutch laying around here. I had one. I don't know what I did with it. Anyway. Now the Sikk Ped by no means are cheap parts on this bike. But I had one of the bolts come loose on this sprocket. This thing is real quiet on the idle. And I had turned the throttle down, it was coasting, and I started to hear a tick, 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 tick. Well, immediately I stopped. I knew that was wrong. And sure enough, one of these bolts had worked loose, and it was starting to rub against this adjuster, the inside of my frame here. Well, lucky for me, I was only a block from my house. So I pushed it home, pulled the wheel. Sure enough, the other 5 bolts were loose. I mean, finger tight. So, I cleaned the bolts so there's no oil on them. Brand new thread locker, retorqued them, and everything's good to go. So it can happen to any bike. It's not just a Phatmoto. It's any hub like that. So anyway, those are the 3 places on your Phatmoto you must address. The spline sprocket on the jack shaft. Don't over torque that stock bolt, it'll shear. Clutch must be oiled. And those sprocket bolts. You address those 3 items and you're probably not going to have much trouble. Oh, and you should really replace the stock chains. The stock chains are really, really weak. They stretch out really quick. And they're just not good. Okay, that's about it. I will talk to you later.